So, basic principles of experimental design. This to me feels a little late. I should have put this earlier in the notes, but now we're getting to it. In order to have a good experiment, you need to make sure you have these three components. You need to make sure that people or your observational units are randomly assigned into those treatment groups. If you don't have random assignment, then you're going to potentially bring in some sort of selection bias. The goal here is that if we randomly assign, that we should end up with groups in each of the treatments that are fairly similar in terms of having a wide variety of all of the things that might impact how that treatment works. We need a control group. It doesn't have to be a group that gets no treatment. As we saw, that's not possible in like the shirt example, but we need to have a comparison group. And if we don't have a comparison group, we don't know if the change is due to the actual treatment or if it's due to something else. So I had this bananas coworker when I worked at UCSD. So we were talking before a pizza party, and one of my coworkers, who I actually liked, was saying that she had cheese-induced ear infections. And I immediately went, because I'm a snarky person, I think you're eating the cheese wrong. And then the coworker who drove me crazy, who I shared an office with, was like, oh, no, I have oil of oregano pills. I'll get them. They'll help. And I was sitting there thinking, you've never heard of a cheese-induced ear infection before. So how do you know that oil of oregano is going to help with this? And this is like a no joke real story. She ran off, got oil of oregano, and made my other coworker take it. But it got me thinking. This is a great example of why we need a control group, right? So let's say that we wanted to test oil of oregano as this magical cure-all. Now, we can't use it for dairy-induced ear infections because I don't think that's a thing. I'm sure it is. This is a PhD who said level scientist who said this, so I'm sure she did have this, but it's not a common enough thing, right? We couldn't find enough people to get this together. So let's say we decide allergies. Allergies, a lot of people suffer from allergies. So we get a bunch of people together who are suffering from allergies, and we test my annoying coworker's hypothesis that oil of oregano cures everything. So we have everybody in this group take oil of oregano, and a week later they come back and everyone feels better. Some possible explanations, right? I had one student in one of my classes say, well, the placebo effect, right? Those people thought they were getting a drug that would help with their allergies, and so they felt better. But another thing, and this is why the control group is so important beyond just like a placebo and the placebo effect, is if we did this experiment where we just waited a week and then saw if people got better or not for their allergies, we might just be seeing that pollen levels have decreased in a week, right? If we have a treatment group and a control group, some people who are taking oil of oregano and some people who are not, if everybody comes back and feels better, then we know that there was something else that made everybody feel better. It wasn't due to the oil of oregano. So a control group is really important because there are things that as an experimenter, as a researcher, you may not realize are influencing your outcome. And if you have a control group, then you've accounted for it. All right, and the last thing here is replication. So I really encourage you, I'll go ahead and embed the John Oliver talk right below this. It's a really funny bit that he did on, funny and sad and scary, bit on science and basically how we do a terrible job of reporting out scientific results in the media, and that's what most people digest. And also, one of the things he brings up is this idea of a replication crisis. People are able to publish if they're the first person to find something. Nobody publishes the second person to find something. So while we make a lot of efforts to make sure that we can repeat an experiment, that it's replicable, that we write up all of our methods so that somebody else can go and do it as well, people aren't necessarily doing that because there's not a whole lot of fame and fortune to go along with confirming what somebody else already found. And he even talks a little bit, I think, about the filing drawer phenomenon, which I haven't seen his talk in a couple years, so I'm not sure. And that's the idea that say somebody went out and did do this experiment about oil of oregano and allergies and found nothing. What's going to happen is that person's not going to publish that because you can't. they're just going to put it in what we call the filing drawer, right? And then, 2 years later, somebody else runs an experiment, comes back, woo, oil of oregano helps with allergies. They publish it. Chances are nobody's ever going to refute that. So that's just something to sort of think about. And his talk is really good and really gets at a lot of the stuff that's super important here.